Hey there, I'm doing a quick review of the Truecoat Pro 2. Well, in fact, two of them. I had the Truecoat Pro before. I had two of those units. One was the battery, one was the wired device. And I was quite happy with both of them. But the limitation of those devices is that their motors and components are not repackable, whereas these ones apparently are. So I bought these two units. I bought the first one for a house. I was doing a bunch of trim and some stairs. I probably sprayed about, upwards of, I'll say 10 gallons of paint through the first one. When I was going through the clean out procedure at the end of the day, probably day 3 of using the device, it stopped spraying properly while I was swiveling back and forth between just spraying out through the tip and then cleaning out the paint reservoir. So I took it back to the store to get it fixed, and in the meantime I figured, well, I'll buy a second one just because if these units are sort of on the fritz sometimes, it'd be good to have a second one as a backup. So I bought the second one, and within that same day, that one crapped out on me as well doing the cleanup procedure. So I essentially had two of them in the shop, which the guys at Monarch Paint dealt with, got them up and running. Now when I got them back, I noticed that one unit didn't seem to be spraying quite as effectively as the other one, and the motor noise was not as loud, so it felt like the motor was not driving the paint quite as quick or quite as forcefully. So I didn't really think too much of it at that time. They both worked, cleaned them out. I'm using them again on this job. And just to make a note of it, I'm following proper cleanup procedure. So anyway, I just want to show you what these units should sound like. I believe this is the one that's the one that sounds a little weak when I use it. And actually, upon cleaning it out yesterday, it stopped spraying. So I have to take this one back into the shop. I got another maybe gallon of paint through it before it's crapped out. Now this one, that's how I remember the unit sounding, and that's how I think it's supposed to sound. This is the one yesterday. It was spraying the paint quite well, cleaned up all right, and it still seems to be working. So as of now, I'm not very happy with the Graco Truecoat Pro 2. I mean, I love the design of it. When it was working great. I loved it. But it just, I don't understand why, following proper cleanup procedure, I'm using the blue stuff at the end of the day, every day. Even, I'm storing them upright, doing everything right according to the manual. And, they're crapping out within 10 gallons. So I'm going to take the one back into the shop, see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I guess if it's like a do-it-yourselfer, like I'm an interior painter, but I don't use these units all that much. Each of them have sprayed maybe 15 gallons at most, and I was under the understanding that they would spray upwards of maybe 50 gallons or so before maybe having to like repack certain components, and then you'd have longer life out of them. Certainly, only getting, on the second unit that I bought, only getting, not even a gallon out of it before it crapped out would raise serious alarms for me in the future. Buying any Graco product, I suppose. I mean, I've had success with them in the past. I'm sure their high-end stuff is really good. I thought these were going to be great, and they're good for my purposes, the size of them, the way they clean up, so I'd like to keep using the handhelds and not having to go to like a bigger spray system. But if they're this unreliable, then obviously I'm going to have to move on up. But the frustration is that each unit costs about $400. One of them's probably paid for itself already, so that's okay, but I would expect it to do more than just pay for itself. And I would certainly expect that it's going to last a lot longer than 1 or 2 gallons before having to take it in. I don't understand why the one motor is so weak already. I can't remember if it was like that before I took it in to get it fixed, but it's certainly like that now as I